there. I'm going to show you a stretch video here. A lot of times, especially men, clients that I had were super tight in their hamstrings and in their hips. And as we get older, it's super important to be more flexible, to keep up on flexibility, and to work on these things. So I am going to be using this band, and you can use either a towel, you can use a yoga strap, anything to do these stretches. So I start by just lying down like this, and I stretch my one leg out and put this right on the arch of my foot and straighten my leg up. You can hold on to this with two hands if you want, but I like to hold on to it with one just because I can relax on the other side. And then what I'm doing is I'm just flexing my foot, and eventually I just pull my toes back to increase the stretch, especially back here in my calf. And stretching should be really slow. It should be something done, you can do it while you're watching TV. You can do it while you're, chatting with someone and just lying down on a rug in the evening or whatever. But it should never be something that's rushed, because that's how you get hurt. So then what I start doing is just gently pulling my leg toward my forehead up here. And what you can do is release and then pull and then release a little bit, and this sometimes opens up the hamstrings even more. Release a little and then pull, and then I just kind of hang out a little bit. And just, in my mind, I'm thinking about this part of my body, and I'm not forcing anything. I'm just connecting with this part of my body and just asking it to kind of open up and release any tension in there. Flexing my foot a little more, bringing it back into my calf. A little bit more. And then I usually bend my leg and kind of roll it out like this. And then just switch to the other side. And there's always one side that's more flexible than the other. And I always tell clients, please work in your limitations. This is not a contest who's the most flexible. A lot of times, guys will be right here, and that is a big stretch on the hamstrings. That's completely normal. Don't think that because you can't get your leg up like this, that there's something wrong. It's totally normal to have tight hamstrings. Trying to flex my foot. I'm really tight here in my calf. And just trying to connect here. Wiggle my foot a little bit. And, just go really slowly. Just kind of move a little bit that way. See how it feels. Breathing. Flex my foot a little bit. And then I start doing the release. Just release a little bit. And then stretch. Release a little bit. And stretch. Release. And stretch last time. Really thinking and focusing on opening that hamstring. And release. And just kind of make a couple circles and let it go. Another way to stretch the hamstrings, obviously, is to just sit up like this. And now some people can't sit like this. Some people have too much pain in their hips or in their back to sit this way. If that is you, then you can sit on a folded up blanket or towel, because if you sit on a pillow, it usually just squishes down and you're like an inch higher, and that's not going to work. So I could triple up this mat, but make yourself higher. And then you'll find if you're up like this and your feet are still down and you're at a bit of an angle, you'll feel much more comfortable. So if you sit like this and you're, rolled over like this, and you're super tight everywhere, and you can't sit up tall, raise up your tush a little bit, and that'll make a world of difference. All right, so I'm flexed in my feet, you see? And I'm nice and tall here. And now I just bring my hands here and lower my head. And now I can walk my hands out a little bit. And my feet are flexed. My stomach's kind of pulled in just a little. My stomach's not pulled in like that. It's just not pooked out. And then you'll feel your hamstrings and your back here slowly open up. And then you just kind of walk your hands down a little more. And I'm not yanking my toes up. My feet are flexed, but they're not like I'm really pushing hard. I'm just holding my feet up. That's all. And see how far you can go with this. Remember, it's not a contest, okay? If you only get down to here, great. That's what's meant for you. This is something that I teach a lot in my personal training and in my classes. Work in your limits, okay? And don't push past them, because that can lead to injury or burnout or just really not enjoying exercising and stretching. I mean, what we aim to do is I aim to come up with ideas, exercises, stretches that fit with people, so that you look forward to doing it. It should feel good. It should feel relaxing. It shouldn't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die, my back's killing me. If that's true, then just ease up a little bit. Work within your limits. I'm always working in my limits. I have lots of limits. I have herniated discs. I have arthritis, spinal stenosis, osteopenia. I mean, I'm not going to bore you with my big long list. It's not about, just forcing yourself past your limitations. It's honoring those limitations and doing what you can with them. Right? Okay. So next I'm going to move on to the hips. When I stretch my hips, I sit Indian style. Now, once again, if you can't sit like this, lift your tush up on something. If your tush is up on something and your legs are down and you're angled in this manner, you'll feel a lot more comfortable. You should be able to sit up nice and tall like this in this position. If you can't, then lift your tush up, okay? So first what I do is I just bring my hands to the floor. Again, relax my head. I'm not pushing anything here. I'm just letting my head fall. My chin is against my chest. And I'm just hanging out. Now watch what I do with my hands. I just creep them forward. Never, ever lift up. Never do that. You always want to have contact with the floor with your hands and just kind of inchworm them forward. And I pull my stomach in just a little bit so I don't have a big jelly roll hanging over. And just keep inching the hands forward and letting the forehead fall. And you'll feel this right here in your hips. Inching forward and relaxing down. Breathe. That's probably as far as it goes for me. And you can let your elbows come toward the mat. And I really, really like to just hang out here. And I connect with those hips. Open the hips. Not pushing anything. Just connecting with that part of your body and asking it to open up and release. Coming out of this, we just do the opposite with the fingers. Inch the fingers forward. Do not lift your hands off the mat. Just slide your hands back slowly. Sometimes you see stars when you come sitting up like this. So make sure you go slowly, because you might feel a little, ooh, especially if you're doing this video after a really hard workout. All right. These next hip stretches can get funky if you have bad knees. If you have bad knees, do not do this because it can be uncomfortable. If you've done pigeon pose in yoga, that's what this is. All right, so I start sitting like this. I'm supported with my arm here. And then I shoot my leg back like this. Now look how high up I am. And this is stretching my psoas right here, right on the front part of my hip. If it hurts your knee, do it this way. You just may not be able to get down so low. You might have to come up in order to get this stretch here. Okay, but if you can come down like this, come down like this, and then you'll also feel a stretch in this opposite hip. My knees are definitely funky, so I have to keep my upper body supported here, you see? You see, sometimes people can lay right down in yoga class with this. There's no way I can do that. I feel like I'll snap in half. Not a possibility for me. This knee says, that's not on my can-do list. Okay? So just kind of find a comfy place here. And I'm stretching this part of my hip and this front part of my psoas right here at the same time. And to switch, I just shoot that leg back and I sit just to kind of prep, facing the other way. Let the blood come back into my hip over here that I just stretched. Slide this other leg forward, shoot my other leg back, and come on up like this. And remember what I said, one side is typically more flexible than the other. This knee is not as bad as my last knee. So check this out. Oh, I can come down to my elbows. On the other side, no chance of that. No chance of that. So again, just kind of pulling my posture up a little bit to stretch this psoas muscle, and then sitting my tush down on this side to get a stretch right here in my hip and glute. And as I breathe, I kind of lighten up how much I'm holding myself up here and let myself sink down right there, down the spine toward the mat. After that, I just come to hands and knees. And if you can't do those because your knees really bother you, this is another great way to kind of stretch that psoas. You come to this position and you just rest in this way. And see how I'm hinging right here? Just kind of opening up this place right here. Now you're not going to feel a stretch on your hip or the other side. That's okay, because you just did, you know, that previous stretch. And if you can come up like this, great. I can today on this one side, maybe not on the other, right? This is one heck of a muscle here. When I stretch it on clients, usually on female clients only, for obvious reasons, it is really tight and it can be really painful. So just be really careful with that psoas, because if you overstretch it, oh boy, you will start sending me nasty emails. So don't overdo it. Don't overdo any stretches ever. Hey, look at that. I can come up on this side too. Doesn't mean I'll be able to do that next time. But for right now, I'm okay. All right. So we got hamstrings, hips, and psoas. After that, I'll lie down on my back again and bring my knees into my chest with a nice big hug. And just let myself kind of melt and fall right here. Just letting my hips kind of, you know, chill out after what they just did. Then, I'm going to cross this one leg over the other like this. And now you might find that your knee does not go down like this. If you're super tight in your hips, that's okay. Just keep it like this, however it feels comfortable, okay? So we want to push with your weight, not your hand. Or push with your muscle, your strength, down a little bit like that. See? See how my leg just moved a little? If you push with your hand, you might really wrench that hip there. That's not a good thing. So what I try to tell people to do is just use the muscles of your leg to push down. And then if you can, lift this leg up. Try to keep that knee in that same position. Sometimes it wants to come in like this. If that's true for you, then change your grip to underneath your thigh. And now look at my elbow here. My elbow is against my other leg. You see that? So with this arm, I'm helping myself stay in this position without having my knee come up, right? And what I'm doing with my hands is I'm just slowly kind of inching my leg toward my face. You see? And you really have to be mindful when you're doing this. And slow. You know, it's little millimeters at a time. And I'm just kind of supporting and pressing a little bit that way and pulling in with my hands at the same time. That's great. And then we switch. So both knees, both feet are on the mat. Start with just this cross. Because, you know, you always have to check in with yourself. You don't want to just switch right over and start yanking your legs because, you know, might have a situation with your hips or your back where your hips and back are like, I don't think so. So always want to start at the beginning and just check in. Like, where am I at today? You know? One hip's going to be tighter than the other, I assure you. Right? So I lift up. Yeah, see, this hip is way tighter than the other one. And this is my funky knee, too. So let's see what happens here. It's interesting, you know, you might find yourself completely locked up when you first get into one of these positions. And then after a few breaths, your body's like, oh, okay. I can release a little bit of tension here, no problem. So now I'm pushing with my elbow because I feel it releasing. I'm pushing my knee this way, just a little bit, and I'm pulling with my hands toward my face. Pushing with my elbow, pulling with my hands a little bit. And release, uncross the legs. I bring both my knees in again and just kind of make some little circles here. And the other way. So that's the hamstrings, psoas, hips, and piriformis stretches. So give those a try and let me know what you think. Have a great day.